Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because the Leafs are going to be so reliant on that core four as they are.
Yeah.
Maybe moving forward, like this is their style, where it's the core four plays as many minutes as possible, and they try and score these spectacular goals and just outscore teams. If you're going to win games 5-4 or 6-5 or whatever the case may be, that's how they play moving forward. And the rest of the team just falls into place in terms of bringing the emotion and that type of aggressiveness. Like, does that mean that you have to start playing these 5 guys, more minutes than you normally would? You got to almost sacrifice the minutes of other players to keep these guys on the ice for as long as possible.
Well, you look at it last night, Marner and Matthews both played over 22 minutes. You're going to be playing with fire if you do that, right?
I think that's what they have to do. If there's no scoring coming from anywhere else.
I don't know. They still have a bit of a cushion right now in the playoff race where they don't have to do that. If they were, in a situation where the last 5 games of the season or last 10 games of the season and they need to win out like.
But what's their best method of winning games right now? It's having those 4 players, those top 2 lines score goals.
I get that.
If that's how they're going to play and that's how they're going to win, then you have to lean on these guys.
But you're leaning on them anyway. Right?
No,
that's expected.
I'm talking about even more where. If Ryan Reeves is playing 7 minutes, maybe he's playing 4 or 5.
But then you're risking the chance of these guys getting hurt then, right?
What other option do they have?
Hope and pray that
you want to win games.
Hope and pray these secondary guys start picking it up.
We're talking about 4 players. I think maybe even 5 if you include Riley. About 60% of the Leafs goals.
Yeah, and look again.
So you can't. That's why you see these guys on the PK. That's why you see these guys in every single situation.
Right.
Because you can't have Nick Robertson and Max Domi and Bertuzzi and Nyes out there because they're not producing. And defensively, the liabilities. Their best defensive forwards, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and Auston Matthews. Their best offensive forwards, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Auston Matthews, William Nylander. So you have to play these guys in every single situation, which leads me to think the identity of this team is to ride the horses as much as you possibly can. You might have to run them into the ground, a la what Nick Nurse did last season with the Toronto Raptors. Your best players, they got to play.
How'd that work out for the Raptors?
I understand that, but the Leafs have no other options because no deadline, there's no player out there that's going to come in and score you 10 to 15 goals. Tyler Bertuzzi's not hitting 20 goals. I mean, poor guy. I'm starting to feel bad for the guy. I think he's snake bit.
He had the chance in front of the net.
Matthews gave him it. He's like, here, take it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't put it in. So I'm just saying, I think moving forward, Keefe, if he's going to be the guy behind the bench, my 4 guys are playing as many minutes as they possibly can because that's the only way this team can win.
Bertuzzi played, 18 minutes last night? Nyes only played, 12 minutes?
Yeah. Those guys will get their minutes because they're on the top 2 lines.
Tavares only played 16, right? But are you really going to ask John Tavares, who looks like he has his legs back, to up it another 4.5, maybe 5 minutes a game? He's going to get burnt out, man. Right? He's going to get.
I agree, Justin. But I'm saying I don't see another path to victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
There is no path to victory this season anyway.
I'm talking about winning games from now until the playoffs. This is how it's going to have to go.
But then here's the thing. Like, what happens if you play these guys and they get hurt and then you're screwed even more?
Well, I mean, that can happen on 5 minutes of ice time.
That's true.
Anything can happen.
That's true. I don't know. I think you just keep on doing what you're doing, allocating the ice time the way you see it as fitting per game, and hope that these guys somehow, some way pick it up a smidge.
Did you notice Max Domi out there last night?
No.
Not
I noticed
once.
him. I noticed him with his missing teeth on the camera shot on the Marner
One
goal.
play. I think it was a 2-on-1. He brought it between his legs.
Yeah, something like that.
And Wedgwood made a good save.
But
other than that,
I didn't notice Domi. I didn't really notice Holmberg. I didn't really notice Nyes. Didn't notice McCann.
I thought Nyes was a bit better, but yeah, you're right.
It's hard to notice him. I did notice Bertuzzi because he did get was on the ice for that one goal.
Yeah.
And then he did have the crazy chance, and he'd missed in front of the net.
Nyes had a breakaway.
He did.
What about, we even talked about it, the power kill. Matthews and Marner on the PK.
The power kill.
3 consecutive breakaways. They looked so dangerous, man. I don't think that's going to be something we see moving forward. But how exciting was that? That penalty kill changed the game.
It did.
It really did. They didn't score. I mean, they probably should have.
But they generated momentum.
They did. And I think once Yarncroke and Camp come back, that's probably going to change. But listen, if you can put your studs on the PK and they can do that, be a threat down a man,
absolutely,
that's something a lot of teams don't have.
And I think when you look at that situation, when you look at how they've kind of taken over that role, That's something that you want from your star players, even if they don't do it consistently or like all the time.
Yeah.
At least now Sheldon Keefe knows, hey, I trust these guys. I can put them out there in a penalty killing situation, in a tough game or a tough situation, and I know that they're not going to be liabilities out there. So do I want to see? I actually kind of want to see more of Nylander and Matthews on the penalty kill.
We will.
Right. I think that is something that they shouldn't solely be focused on that, but it's a nice thing to have in your repertoire where you can be trusted to go out there and kill penalties when your team needs you to do it the most.